Good morning and welcome to K2's Road to Excellence, Part 12, and our partner, Doc.It. This is Alan Salmon, and I'm pleased that you're with me for the START webinar in our fall season. A little bit of housekeeping before we continue. My good friend Marilyn Benninger is your backup for technical issues and for questions. Your microphone is muted for obvious reasons. You're welcome to take notes, but be aware that within 10 days of today, you will get a recording of this webinar, all of the questions, and Ward's file. You ask questions in the chat window, and at the end of the seminar, Marilyn will send all the questions to myself and Doc.It. We will answer them, and that will be included in your package. Finally, we come to your credits. 4 or 5 times today, Ward and Doc.It will stop and ask a polling question. That's a multiple choice question, usually 4 or 5 answers, and you don't have to get it right. What you do have to do is click on one of the answers and click OK or record. We then know that you are paying attention. If you answer 75% of the questions, you will get a CPD certificate for 1 verifiable hour. If you don't, it'll be 1 non-verifiable hour. Now, I've been looking forward to this presentation today because my good friend and partner, Ward Blatch, is going to introduce you to a brand new concept that's in the latest versions of Excel. So without further ado, Ward, it's all yours.
Thanks, Alan, and welcome everybody. Hope it's a lovely day wherever you are. I'm here in Nova Scotia, and the power company says any day now I should have power back. So looking forward to whenever that may take place. Today we're going to be talking about dynamic arrays, and this is really a very new feature in Excel. So before I go too far, I'm just going to go under my account settings in Excel, and the goal here is simply to show you what version of Excel I am currently using. And that version is version 1908. I am on the Office 365 subscription, and version 1908 means that that is 2019 August build of Excel. In fact, I'm on what's called the monthly channel targeted, and that means that IT for our office has selected me as the person to test out the new features in Excel first. So that's what the targeted part means. And you have to be on 1908 monthly channel targeted in order for these features that we're going to talk about today, this functionality, to have access to it. There is one other channel. It's a little bit faster than the one I'm on. It's called the Insiders channel, and I'm just not brave enough to do that one. For those of you that are, you've been using dynamic arrays for a while. So before we go any further, I'd like to get an idea with our first poll to know what version of Excel you are using. So I'll get Marilyn to put up that poll for me. And if you're using Excel 2019, it's not in the list there. I know it's been out for a little bit. If you would select Office 365, if you're using Excel 2019, that would be great. The goal here is just to find out what versions you're on and to give me an idea of how many people will soon see dynamic arrays in their version of Excel. So that poll's up there on your screen now. You could please select one of those, and Marilyn likes to time this out for us.
We're already at 93%, folks. Thanks very much for your quick responses. I'm going to close the poll now and show the results. Do you see those results there, Ward?
Oh, I'm actually quite surprised. 37% are on Office 365. Excellent, excellent. For those of you that aren't sure, you're probably on, could potentially be on an older version, but those on Excel 2010, just to give you a heads up, You have 1 year from next month before that version is no longer supported. So for a lot of you, over a third, you'll be able to take advantage of this dynamic arrays in the very near future. Thanks for showing that. We can go back to my screen. We'd be all set. Okay, so here I have a list, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a first peek at dynamic arrays, talking about one thing that may cause you a problem, and that is the spilling. So I have some data here, and I'm sure many of you have a preference on how you lay out your data, but for me, I like to make sure it's in a table. So as we look at this data set here on the screen, there is no little square down in the corner, bottom right-hand corner, and there is no indication up here that the table's design tab. That means that this is not a table. And so I want to make a table out of it. I'm sure you know how to do this, but just in case, we're going to go to Home, and we're going to say Format as a Table. And I'm going to pick this orangey color this time. So I'm just going to select that. The dialog box comes up, and it asks me, do you want to have I got the right area selected? And you see the little dancing ants around your block. I didn't select the block, I just was inside of the block. It automatically picks up the continuous area. So it goes until it sees a blank column, and it goes until it sees a blank row. It also properly identified that I have headers, so I'm going to say okay, because that's all correct for me. And now I have a table. It doesn't format with orange because the data was already formatted at the cell level. So to fix that, I'm just going to go to Table Design here, right-click on my table style that I want, and say Apply and Clear Formatting. The other thing that I like to do is I like to give my tables a name. So I'm going to call this Data Spill. And every time you create a table in Excel, it is conveniently called Table 1, Table 2, Table 3, etc. So those don't make any sense to me. I always like to give my table a nice name. So over here in Table Name, I just type in Data Spill. Okay, so what does a dynamic array formula do? What it does is it's a formula that will give us multiple results back. So it's a pretty wide definition. And there are a few commands that we have today that we can use that reflect this. So we'll start off with just simply going equals and typing in the table name, which I call Data Spill. So as I start to type, it shows up in my screen in my autocomplete drop-down list here. It's actually the top one. It's already highlighted. A tab will fill that in for me. You can see that the results are already highlighted there. And the selection is shown to me. I hit Enter, and there's all that data from that table filled in. So this doesn't really do that much for us. We're going to do some sorting and filtering here, but I want you to see what would happen if you have this one formula that would fill in a whole bunch of cells. We want to avoid the scenario where we would have perhaps data already in the spill area. So let's go type out the same formula. I put in a few little functions here, A, B, and C, very clever of me. So let's go up here and type in the exact same formula, equals data spill. Hit Enter. It didn't work. I get the spill error, pound spill explanation. That also has the nice little error indicator in the top left-hand corner. So when I click on the cell, my error box pops up. And now all I need to do is click on that little drop down, and it'll tell me what's going on. Now, for some of you, you've made the decision that this checking option thing is more trouble than it's worth. I personally find it very effective, and I recommend activating it. So if you have turned it off and you can't remember where to turn it on, let's just go have a look at error checking options. It is under Excel options, so File Options, and it's in the Formulas group. And right down at the bottom there is where I can enable it. Now, by default, I believe it's a green color indicator. That didn't stand out enough for me, so I made it pink, and that way I'm more likely to spot it. I also have everything checked except for one, and that is don't check for formulas referring to empty cells. Like many people, when I go to put my total in at the bottom, I like a blank row there so that when I go and add more data in, I don't have to redo my formula. So I do it all the time. I know I'm doing it, and so I don't want the error checking to mention that to me. So I've turned that off. Okay, so with this error checking in place, I'm going to say select obstructing cells, and it'll show me the cells that are causing the problem. Now I can either delete those or I can do a cut and paste them someplace else. So let's do a cut and paste them someplace else, and there's all my data filled in. So this spill error is definitely something that you could find yourself running into. You misjudge the amount of space that's required with any of these dynamic array formulas. Before we leave this spill example, I do want to just point out that these cells here do not actually have a formula. If you look at the formula bar, it's grayed out. Only the top left-hand cell has the actual function in it. To edit that function, you must go to that cell. The other thing I'd like to point out is they're dynamic arrays. So if I go back over to my data, hit the tab key and just put in today's date, and we'll put in K2 here as the vendor, and the account, we'll call it consulting, and the dollar amount, let's put in $5,000. And as you can see, it's automatically picking it up. And because I went and hit enter, it wrapped it around to put in more data in my table, and that's why I'm getting these zeros here as well. So the great thing about tables is as my data expands, so does my results automatically, which is quite nice. Gotta like that. Okay, so we got the spill figured out. Let's move over to a sort. So I have a whole slob of data here, and is it a table? No. So Ward loves it in tables, so let's make it a table. We're going to go home again, format as a table. Let's pick my orange one again. So let's go and select it. We'll say okay. And let's go change the name on here as well. This is my data for sort, so I'm going to call it data sort. I know I have great names for my tables. Okay, let's do a little bit of sorting. So this first sort example, we're going to use a new function equals sort. And it says, okay, what do you want to sort? Well, I want to sort my data sort. And then it says, well, what do you want to sort on? Well, let's sort on account. And account is the third column over, data, vendor, account, third column over. So that's how I want to sort. And then my next option is, do you want that to be ascending or descending? One ascending minus one descending. I'm going to select the one that's highlighted there, put in my closing bracket, hit enter, and there's my sort completed for me. Remember, we went with the third column, so beverages does come before food. Okay, so well, maybe you'd like to sort by more than one characteristic. So let's go and do another sort. So let's do an equal sort again. We're using the same data sort data. And what we're going to do here is we're going to sort by account and by amount. Okay, I want to sort by two things. I'm going to have to give it an array to sort by. And that requires that funny little squiggle bracket. And we're going to sort by column 3 and by column 4. Another squiggle bracket because that is the columns that I want to sort by. Now I have to tell it that how I want to sort. So let's sort it by, first of all, alphabetical, this ascending, and let's sort our amounts with largest first. So that would be a -1 for it, a squiggle to close off that array, and a closing bracket because we're all happy and thinking that this formula is going to work for us. Hit the enter key, and there's our results sorted first by account and then by amount. Okay. Now, some of you are thinking, you know, I don't use arrays, I don't feel comfortable with arrays. Isn't there some other way that I could do a sort? And you probably already noticed it. There is another way to do it. That function is called sort by. So we're going to do an equal sort by now. And what are we going to sort? Just like before, we're going to sort our data sort. And what are we going to sort it by? Well, we're going to sort it by account. So that is data sort. And I want to tell it to do it by account. So I'm going to put in a square bracket and select account in my list. Another square bracket. And how do I want that sorted? Well, I'm going to go with ascending for that. Hit the tab key. Another bracket. By array, what's my second sort option? Well, I'm going to go back to data sort again, which is my table name. And then within the table, I'm going to use my amount column. And I've separated those again with those square brackets, comma, and a -1 for it. Put in a closing bracket. And now I have my sorting going to take place. It should give me the identical results that I had using the arrays and the sort function. I personally think that the sort by is a little easier for somebody to read and understand the formula than it is to do it with the array functions, but the array components in the formula do allow us a little bit better job security because nobody will have a sweet clue of what you're actually doing there. Now, some of you have noticed that these columns don't make any sense to you, and that is because that is the numerical value for the date. If I just go to home and in here change it to being short date, it'll convert all those to the dates. Okay, so that's our first example of using a dynamic array formula. And again, as data changes, these will automatically reflect the new values. So if we just go down here and I just change this to 5,000 and put it in, you can see that my sorts have automatically reflected where I said to sort by amount as a second option. And that 5,000 turned into 50,000. Inflation is a terrible thing. Okay, let's do one more. We're going to do filtering this time. So with filtering, same exact concept as before. First of all, I'm going to want to give this, make it a table. It's not currently a table. Oh, it is a table. Fantastic. I've clicked in it. You can see the little indicator in the corner there. It tells me it's a table, and I have table design here. This tab may have a slightly different name depending on the version of Excel you have, but everybody on Excel 2007 and subsequent does have tables. Okay, so we're going to do some filtering. So let's go over here and we'll set up an item and a department. And what this will allow me to do is I'm just going to use these as input fields. Well, not those ones, but the K2 and K3. I'm going to make these my input fields where people will go in and input the values that they want to have in their table. Okay, now I can remember doing this with this exact same data in an array course that we have. We would spend quite a bit of time walking through how to properly set this up. We're going to do it here in just a few minutes using our filter function, another dynamic array function. Equals filter. Just like before, how do you want, what what is the data that you want to filter? Well, I want to filter my, did I call that data filter? No, I didn't. I don't remember what I called it. Let's go have a peek at that again. I didn't call it anything. Let's call it data filter. There, instead of table 3, because I didn't know it was table 3, equals filter. What do I want to font? My data filter. What do I want to include? Well, I would like to include data filter when the item, whoops, square bracket for that word, when the item equals, find my equal sign here, equals the item that's typed in here. And if I don't get a result back, I would like it to say something. So let's go with some simple text. And in that, because it's text, I'm going to put quotes around it. Item not found. Another quote to finish it off, a closing bracket for my filter formula. I'm going to hit enter, and as you may have guessed, I should end up with item not found because within my data set, I have no blank for item. So I have item not found. Let's go up here and type in stamps. And there is all of the results for item stamps. Now, you'll notice that this is one of those dynamic arrays. You can see the blue border around it. When you click on these other cells in the formula bar, the formula is grayed out, but there's no titles here. Best thing to do is just simply do a copy and paste to get those over to here for me. And now I have my titles across the top. And if I change this to be paper, I now get my filtered results automatically updated. Okay, so I did that with one item. Let's do that again. I'm just going to take this and copy it over here. And what I'm going to do is do another filter. So this is going to be equals filter again. And what I want to have in this formula is, whoops, sorry about that. What I want to have in this function is a couple of options, equals filter. So what are we going to filter? We're going to filter our data filter. And what do we want to include? Well, I want to include it when the item is there and the department. So I'm going to have to put in a couple of filter selection include items. So filter, data filter, and that first column, square bracket to identify the column is going to be item. Got to type it correctly, put in another square bracket there for that. And I want that to equal my K2. The second thing I want to be true is going to be separated or included in the function with the multiply, which means and. So a multiplication will give us an and in this. So the item and the department would have to be the same. Another bracket, data filter, square bracket to tell it what column I want to do. So this is going to be the department column. Square bracket to end that reference. I know it's correct because it's now color coded for me. When that equals and my department column and a closing bracket for that one and comma, and then what else do I want? Well, if it's empty, what do you want to say? Well, if it's empty, let's leave it empty. So I just put in double quotes to leave it as an empty cell. Put in a final bracket to finish that off and hit enter. I don't have anything with paper without a department, so I'm empty here. Let's go and update this and put in support as the department. And now I get support paper and the results for it. Okay, let's think about this. I actually would like to have paper, but I'd also like to have it for support or for paper. So since I want one or the other, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that formula already written. I'm going to take that multiplication out and put in a plus sign and hit enter. And now you can see all of the supports are here and all of the papers are here. So everything got included in my selection list, item and department. I'm not impacting the actual values here from the table. The table has not been modified at all. This is taking that, using that dynamic array to bring the data across. All right. I have one other thing I'd like to mention to you, and that is that we do offer this in a more detailed explanation, a 2-hour webinar, bringing artificial intelligence to your Excel workbooks. Quite a few more examples on dynamic arrays. We also talk about some other special components in Excel that may be of interest to you. I will provide you a link when we send out the information on this webinar to that. Just to finish up, I'd like to know what you are you likely to use dynamic arrays in your workbooks going forward? So Marilyn, maybe we can pop up that question just to see what people's thoughts are on dynamic arrays. I know for a lot of us, it's a new function. For myself, it's fairly new as well. We've only really had it in Excel for a little over a month now because it just came out regularly in 1908. Personally, I think it's going to save us all a lot of time. And there's so many great things that we can do with this. So if we could just see how that is coming along, Marilyn, the poll question that you have up there.
It's a nice, easy question. So thanks, everyone. We're already at 90%. So I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Got that last vote in there. I'm closing the poll, and I'm sharing the results with you now, Ward.
Oh, wow. Great to see. Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this little session. We will send you out my sample file with some detailed instructions. You'll notice that my sample file has both the blanks for the data and the completed results to help you out. Thank you very much. I'll hand it back to Alan to introduce our next speaker.
And I'm sure he'll be able to introduce himself. I'm going to just unmute you, Don.
All right. Good afternoon. Good morning, depending on wherever you're from. I'm Don Emery from Doc.It Inc. I'm the Director of Client Solutions, CPA. Been with Doc.It now for about 11 years. Before we get into our first poll, just a very brief introduction of who is Doc.It, and then we will, after that, head to our poll. What is Doc.It itself? Doc.It is document management, workflow, portal software for public accounting firms. Main focus, main industry. Why do clients come to us? They want to improve their level of client service. They want to reduce security risks, data security risks, and they want to control costs by consolidating applications. And then last, because we focus on one industry, customer-guided product development and tailored solutions is what we're able to do, strictly focusing on that one industry. So everything we do relates to the industry. So Marilyn, maybe before we actually start to get into the software a little bit, it'd be a good time to launch our first poll, please.
Absolutely, Don. So your first poll in this section of the webinar, folks, is just to get a sense of where you primarily store your financial documents. Please choose the one that's closest for you. Could be in multiple places, could be in Windows Explorer. You could have a document management system, and we hope that's Doc.It, or maybe you're still using paper. Good to know. We're getting lots of responses. Thanks very much for your quick replies. I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to close the poll and share those results. Are you seeing those, Don?
No, not yet.
All right, so let me just tell you, 52% of the folks on the call have their documents in multiple places. 18% have them in Windows Explorer. 14% are using a document management system, and 15% admit to using paper storage. So I'll let you take it away from there, Don.
All right, excellent. That's a great audience to speak to then, because we've got a little bit more than 80+% of people that I think our message and our software has an opportunity to resonate to. We have about 500 firms that we work with, about 14,000 users within those 500 firms. Our firm size ranges anywhere from, we have firms that have 3 users. Our largest firm is just under 600. Our average is about 27, so you can see we have a real diversity, but about 50% of the actual users we have come from firms 75 users and above. So we have and a number that sit in the middle. And we actually have, not software programs, we have implementation programs that resonate to each of those groups, and we can really tailor our services as to what the clients are. So Doc.It is largely, the largest element is document management. I'm going to talk a little bit, show you a little bit about the document management elements, and as time permits, we'll touch on portal workflow as well. We're seeing the screen. We have on the left menus. We have on the right, we have reports. So this is a report writer. You can create your own reports, create your own dashboards, and drive in real time or drive with real-time information, the information that you need to see, want to see. We have security to control access to data. We have security to control access to about 60 different points of functionality. I'm going to go into the first element on the screen. This is known as My Inbox. Each person has an inbox. And what an inbox is a place where documents arrive when we scan. So when we scan, it could be on a local scanner connected to your machine, could be at a workstation that's a scanning workstation, could be on a big multifunction machine. You say, great, I want to send this document to Marilyn, I want to send it to Alan, I want to send it to Don. It's going to route that file to their Doc.It inbox. Each person has a proprietary inbox. We could also print Doc.It as a PDF printer. So I could be in some Excel, Word, whatever it may be. I want to print to a PDF, and when I print to a PDF, it arrives in my inbox. So it's a gathering location. So the things aren't going randomly onto your desktop, randomly somewhere on the network. They're entering this place, and from here, we're going to put it somewhere. And I'm just going to put that little thought on hold, and I'm going to go myself back into the rest of the suite. Now, we do integrate with Caseware. It's one of the things that we integrate heavily with. So wherever you have something in the Doc.It suite, you can drag and drop files directly to Caseware. That could be in the portal. That could be in Doc.It's engagement software. That could be in my inbox. I can drag and drop off to Caseware. I'm not going to be jumping into Caseware and back and forth between the two. I will just be referring when there's certain things we can also do in Caseware or for Caseware. I'll point that out to you. Let me put in a client name. And I'm going to call up this client. Now, elements that we have, I'm going to be just talking a little bit about this type column. We have something here, the first 3 elements, these are called work binders. Doc.It has an engagement software that firms will not, it's not a competitive product to Caseware. We're not attempting to replace a product like Caseware. We're looking to augment. So we don't compete with Caseware. We believe it's a best of practice tool, and it is fantastic when you are doing things like year-end. You're doing your audits, your reviews, your notice to readers. Great product, should be used. What we found, and a lot of people don't do things like T1s in Caseware. They don't do bookkeeping in Caseware. They don't do payroll services, any consultative service that you may provide to your clients. Traditionally, a lot of firms don't store those documents in Caseware. So 12, 13 years ago, we developed a product whereby people could have a software that they can work in. They can review keep all the documents into a project. So this here, for example, is somebody's personal tax return, and I got a bookkeeping project, and I'm doing some element of a consulting project, a refinancing job. And it is a container where I'm going to work in. Somebody's going to review the documents and all the supporting documentation. The final report's going to be put there. Very similar in concept to what you would do to Caseware. But I don't need dynamic libraries, and I don't need case view, and I don't need Caseware documents. I'm not utilizing it for that purpose, but I want document management, engagement type capabilities in order to work. We're going to have a linkage into Caseware project, and if you're using Caseware's desktop version, you can actually launch Caseware files right from here. So if I were to double click, it's going to launch the associated Caseware file. We should see it pop up. There it is. There's the associated Caseware project that's associated to this entry. I'll explain in a few minutes why would I even want that there in the first place. We have a long-term storage area where we're going to put the storage of all of our completed work in, let's call it a lockdown vault to give it a descriptive name. We're going to have a place to put random documents. So these are things that do not relate to a project. Maybe I've got emails from a client. I've taken some meeting notes because I was talking to them on the phone. And I want to keep those, and I want to keep them in a digitalized place, and I want them to be fully searchable. Here's a place where we can put them. And lastly, I have access to this client's portal. So on one screen, I have access to anything we're working on, whether that's in Doc.It or in Caseware. I have access to everything that we've completed, all of the random documents, their portal. And when I look to the right side of the screen, for any project that we're working on, we also have workflow. And this project is currently, we're doing specific things with this project, and who's it assigned to, and how much time is there on that project, and when is it due. And we can have priorities on projects, all of this of which is information that we're tracking so that you can now manage the work, not just perform the work. And at a very high level, that's Doc.It. So let's go in now. Let's penetrate a little bit deeper. Let's talk about some of the tools that we're going to give you, because it's not just about document management. I've got a portal. What are all these tools? How do they all work together? Because when everything works together, that's where I'm going to gain my efficiencies. So let's go into a work binder. I'm going to click on this personal tax binder. You're seeing in the upper left a folder structure. For each type of work that you perform, there's a template. And a template's a folder structure, so it's pretty easy to build. I don't have to be a rocket scientist to build a folder and subfolder structure. We build templates. In fact, we ship the software with about 20 so that you can come into the software, you can actually start ability to work, or you can amend these templates to do what you want, but you're starting with something, and it's very easy to make it better than it is to say, gee, I'm going to start with a blank piece of paper and create something from ground zero. So for each type of work that we do, we're going to have a template. And whether in the year one we're creating that work binder from the template, or in subsequent years we're rolling forward and we're creating the next year's binder from that original template, it's a structure where we're going to put all of our documents. So whenever somebody works on a T1, it's a common structure. We have organized files, so that when you look, it's not haphazard and it's not all over the place. Things are organized as you work. And when you look back at it in the future, it's going to have that same organization. And when things are efficiently laid out, that's going to also save us time. And we're going to have some tools that are going to be efficiency tools. So that if I were to be working, now I'm just going to talk personal tax, but this could be bookkeeping or payroll or consulting services. It could be anything. So don't just think, well, gee, they only work for tax. I'm just going to use tax as kind of my example because we're limited for time. We have a tool that's going to allow us to scan where we have scanned in documents. Not only do we scan in documents, but we run them through automatically through optical character recognition software. And when that automatically runs through optical or OCR, then we will end up with a file that can be searched. So all of our PDFs now will become fully searchable, even if we put them into Caseware. Word is searchable, Excel is searchable, the problem files, the problem children right today are PDF files. So because this is now a searchable file, and because we have a library of tax forms, we can compare what was scanned to what's in our library of tax forms. We can say, great, I recognize that first document's a T5, and I recognize that second document was a T4, and therefore all of the CRA prescribed formatted forms we can recognize. We got some problem children, though, and therefore we have cover sheets in our system. Cover sheets that say, I'm going to put this sheet on top of the donations. It's going to recognize this sheet and know that everything underneath this sheet until it gets to the next cover sheet was a charitable donation. And once it reads the next one, it says, oh, that's medical receipts, everything under there, till it gets to the next separator at the end of the file. It's going to be a medical receipt. And now, any type of document, you can create your own cover sheets. We're not limiting you to the ones that we give you. But everything that we had that is not of a recognizable format, you can now recognize. Names recognizes it, names it, and when I told it to, it went and it put it for me into my engagement software. So now see these green dots and a check mark? That means there's something in the folder. And as I click, say, on deductions, and below in the bottom, it's going to have the different documents. Well, there's my donation receipts, there's my medical receipts, there happens to be my T4. Whatever the documents are in my configuration, I said this is where I want them put away. Nice, neat documents are put away. Well, now I'm going to touch into some interaction. Well, what about workflow? Maybe that was one person's job. Scan the documents, run the forms recognition, and you're done. They're going to come in and they're going to click on this icon, so the workflow is built right where we work. Don't have to go out to third-party software. It's right here. We say move the project to the next step. And because the workflow is a series of stages, and you say, these are the stages I want to control when I'm working in a personal tax return. And obviously, I'm going to build different stages if I was doing some advisory service or I'm doing a bookkeeping project. But each has, again, a template of steps that a project goes through. And so as you move the project ahead, it's moving stage to stage. Go over here to the right, we have assignments. And so within the workflow module, you can have recurring assignments. Maybe the same person does this work all the time. Great. You can assign it to them year after year. They're going to get the assignment. Maybe you're going to assign it to a group of people. So rather than say, gee, Don's going to do the scanning or Marilyn's going to do the scanning, maybe you could say, well, I'll have a group called the clerical group, and I'll assign it to the group, but everybody's going to see it needs to be done. And I don't need to worry about who's going to touch it. Be like interns who maybe do some of your tax preparation. That could be reviewers if you're a firm that relies on group, you need to go pick it off the pile like we would have done in paper days. And a group assignment allows you to do that because everybody's going to see it needs to be done. So I move the project to the next step. If I was now clerical staff, say, or I was a person looking for more work, I don't come into a client and go look for my work. I'm going to come over and say, show me everything that's assigned to me. This means the project is in a stage, and that current stage that it's in is assigned to me. Now, I move that project here that we just moved forward, and it says that's in preparation. It says when is their due date, because you can have automated due dates. When did it move? It just moved into that. I'm in Eastern time zone. When did it move into there? Actually, that's the wrong project. The one I just moved is right here. Look, time looks a little funny there. There we go. That's a more realistic time. When did it move? Who it's assigned to, how much time is there for this project. There can be a priority. This is all types of information. I can make a decision of what to work on. I'm just going to click on this stage start field and say, well, sort now. It's in a FIFO from first to last of when it hit my desk. Ooh, it's been sitting on my desk for a year. I bet if I don't move it soon, they're going to fire me. Better work on that one. I'm joking because it's just test and junk data. But you can always see how long have things been sitting on my desk. I can always see when are things due. And these are going to help me make intelligent decisions of what to work on. What's the priority of this project? So we can see how big are these projects. Maybe I want to take this one, or I'm going to work on this one for every reason, and I can into work on the project. What are some of the tools that we have in here while I'm working? Well, one is we're going to be integrated to Outlook. I drag and drop emails from Outlook. I bring them in my project. I have a document that's in the portal. I want to go grab it off the portal. Or I have something that was in my Doc.It inbox. Sorry, let me go back to the client. I just brain dumped there for a second. I'm going to open their portal. So here at the top, I have Charles Boost Portal. I have Charles Boost Personal Tax. I could have projects for other clients. I can have other elements of Doc.It open. They're just a tab. And I could tear this off and throw it on another monitor. But I'm going to take a document from the portal. Folders, same thing. I click. I have my files below. You can see all different types of files are up on the portal. And maybe I've got something from the client and I want to bring it in. So I'm just going to drag this over here. I'm going to say, great, what file do I want to take? Maybe I want to take this file here. I'm going to drag this and I'm going to put it into the folder I want to put it into. And there, I just took something off of my, I took it off of the portal and I dragged it and I put it into my project. So very simple. I would do the same thing with a work binder. I can open up the tab, or same thing off my from my inbox. Could be from another Doc.It project. I can just drag things in and drag them, put them where I want, and I'm getting everything together here in my project to work on. I drag from Windows, I drag from Outlook, make it really simple to gather my documents. Now, one of the tools that we're going to have, this is a great cost-saving tool, and incidentally, this tool can be used as well in Caseware, and that's going to be Doc.It's PDF editor. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to double click on this PDF document. It's going to load Doc.It's PDF editor. Now, if I was in Caseware, all I need to do is go into Windows and say, my Windows default for a PDF is the Doc.It PDF editor. And now I have a full PDF editor whenever working. I'm just going to be in the external viewer versus the internal viewer in Caseware. We can use this in Caseware. In fact, over 99% of our clients utilize our PDF editor when working in Caseware. This is going to have tools that clients need. I have tick marks, tick mark file that you can add to and amend and change. So I'm just going to throw a tick mark on. Maybe I'm adding information and putting it into my software, and I'm just going to be ticking and throwing tick marks onto the document so you can see it happening. I can have different stamps. So we can have different stamps that can be utilized for different purposes. You can create your own stamps and throw them onto a document. The editor allows me to manipulate my document. So I can insert pages and extract and replace and delete, and I have all those lovely tools. And I have tools that I need to annotate and mark up my file. Well, those are nicely sitting here onto my toolbar. And I can add, well, headers and footers and all kinds of different elements, bookmarks, or not bookmarks, yes, bookmarks, watermarks, and I can redact and all the tools that I need when I'm working. I can even sign documents. So maybe I want to go in and sign a document. I wouldn't be signing this one, but I'm just showing you an example. I want to throw my signature on. Now I happen to have password protected, and there is my signature thrown on a document. So I don't have to, print something out, sign it, scan it back in, replace the unsigned page. I just have a scan of my signature. I throw it onto my document. So with the tools that are in this editor, is it a direct replacement of Adobe? I can get rid of that cost, and if you have Adobe subscription licenses, you can be paying somewhere in the $20 to $22 a user a license. And incidentally, that's a very high percentage of the whole cost of the Doc.It suite can be Adobe alone. So a great cost-saving thing, and a lot of people use it because they want to save that cost. Now, with this PDF editor, it has a calculator, and I can create a tape, and I can throw the tape onto my document, and there's hyperlinking, and there's all kinds of tools. The tools that I'm going to need as an accountant in order to work, these tools are there. And if I want to take a tool that's buried somewhere in one of the menus, I can throw it nicely up here into this spot, and very quickly I have access to all the tools I need. Very easy, very simple interface. It's very well accepted by clients because it's just so easy to use. So I can use it in Windows, and I can use it when I get an email. I can use it in Doc.It. I can use it in Caseware. A great tool and one that is highly utilized by our clients. So close my document. It's going to be all marked up. The elements that I have, they're here, and as I hover, it's always going to tell you who put those annotations onto the page. Now, I could be working even better than that. I could be saying, great, show me all the documents in my project. And if I want, I could be loading and opening them all in one instance of the PDF editor. And here we go. All those documents are loaded into my one instance of the editor. I'm just clicking on a tab, and I'm working on these documents. And I could tear off, and I just open this in another instance. And of the PDF editor, I could throw that on another monitor if I want to be going back and forth between multiple PDFs. Let me work as I would work as though it were paper. Give me the tools that I need because that's really going to help me out. And let me close that one down. And away we go. So I could have files. So when I'm working on a file, I can always right-click. And I can say, mark that document as having been prepared, mark that document as having been reviewed, so that I know what I've done, I know where I am while I'm working along, and we're going to audit that. Maybe this document, so it happens to be a Word document, maybe this document I'm going to roll it forward to next year because I need it each and every year. I just mark that document to roll forward. And now this particular file is going to copy to next year's binder when it gets opened via the roll forward, and you have it available. You don't have to go get it. We can have documents that are put into the template, and those are templated documents. Maybe there's something in here that I need, and I need this file. Well, I can just take that and drag it and move it into my project, and I have it available to be used in my project. So I can have a templated document that I control at the template level so that it can change, but I can have then the version of it that I'm working on, and that version I'm working on is not changing. The best of both. So that when you change it in one place, it's automatically available, but the one that I'm working on is all filled in. I don't want that one to be changing. So I work in here. I have my PDF editor. I have my Excel files. I have email message files in here. I've got all of these different documents in here that I'm working on as I'm working on my project. And then at some point, I'm done. And I've completed my work, and maybe in tax, I'm putting information into the tax software, and maybe I'm getting reports from QuickBooks or Sage while I'm working on a bookkeeping, and I've got different spreadsheets, and I've got all the elements of my supporting documentation. When I'm done, I just move the project, and I'm going to move it on to review, and it gets assigned off, and it gets assigned to the reviewer. And the reviewer is going to be going through. They're going to be picking up their work, and they're going to be working on it. And as I review, you can see there's the notes column here. I have the ability to put notes in. So maybe as I'm reviewing, I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a new note. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to hit the keyboard here. I'm not really entering the note, just hitting the keyboard. I save. Who put the note? Date, timestamp. What's the note? And as I close this down into my notes, I know what I did. Just a second. Let me just do this here. And come in, do this again. And there is my note. And I'm going to close this. And for whatever reason, it's really weird, never seen that happen before, but for whatever reason, my notes numbers aren't updating. It should say that there's one note there. I just did a demo half an hour ago and it did, but anyway, it'll say that there is a note there. I'll come back because I can show it to you into another place. Let me just go where I can get another list where I'll have that example. And I can have notes on a binder. I can have notes on a client. I can have notes on a document. So we can have notes into any one of those three, but the principle is you put your review notes in. The notes then are the notes then when I come into review, I can just largely say, okay, show me all the documents. I look for my notes. I'm going to be adding a sub note to that, and it's going to say, hey, there's 2 notes. And the reviewer, they just say, move that file back to Don. And when I'm done, I move it back to the reviewer, and it can oscillate back and forth, and the project is progressing. And the project's moving its way to the end. Then we're going to have tools that when you print things like tax returns, or we have a batch print tool that's coming out of Caseware, and we're printing the financial statements out of Caseware, or we're printing the working paper file out of Caseware to PDF. We have tools that you print to the server, a folder on the server. It says, that's Charles Boos, 2018, T1, that's the client copy. Our artificial intelligence can pick that up. Then we have a rule that says that you fill in to say, great, where do you want that to be put? Well, maybe I want the client copy. If it recognizes it's a client copy, put that onto the portal. Maybe if it's the office copy, prepare a copy, whatever you call it, maybe I want that to go into the archive, the long-term storage. And so now you could be printing and it automatically puts away. And I could be printing from my time and billing software, invoices. Print them to that folder on the server. We pick it up. That's Joe Blow's invoice. Here's the date. Here's the invoice number. We name the file. We put it away in our long-term storage. So it's called auto-filing. You print, we file it away. It has to be a consistent document or a consistent form. But when you do, we can take it. We can automatically put it away. When everything is done and all the work is done, yes, they can be then rolled forward. They can be locked down. But we also have tools that will publish either a work binder or a Caseware file to our archive. So let's go back. What is this archive thing? We've mentioned archive when we were looking here. I'm going to double click. It's a folder, set of folders. Don't worry if this is what you feel would be how you want your archive to look. Principle here, set of folders. And into these folders, we have all documents. So here's all the financial statements of the client, the tax returns, the working paper files. This could be coming from Caseware, as this case is. And in this case, it is fully bookmarked file. But we've taken a PDF of either the Caseware project or the Doc.It work binder, and we printed the whole project to a PDF. The bookmarks are the index managers. The bookmarks of a Doc.It binder are the folders and subfolders. So that now I have a small A audit copy that is locked down of everything that I have done. But everything I have done about this client is one place. There's retention management with these files. How long are these to be retained? That's prescribed by management. And now we can reduce our risk of holding things forever and have a management system whereby things can be put away, retention applied, a purging routine that will allow management to review and approve what is to be purged because it is past the end of its useful life, and then the ability to purge those documents. Retention management. Files from here can't be deleted, can't be moved, can't be renamed. Think in Windows, you go to find a file, it's not there. Go to Caseware, somebody's moved the .ac file, somebody's deleted it by mistake. Here, that will never happen. But when I'm on the phone to the client, everything there is about this client is here in one place. All of my files here are fully searchable. So I'm just going to pop back. I want you to think, if you use Caseware, I want to think about how you would do this, what work would involve. I'm going to launch the search. Every word of every document in my work binder, the Word, the Excel, the email files, the PDF, the Visio, whatever the files are, fully searchable. Everything in my archive, fully searchable. Everything in my client inboxes, all the random documents, all the emails, whatever we've put there, fully searchable. I'm just going to search for every financial statement that has the word marketable in it. And because of how I've named files, and it's found 18 financial statements that have the word marketable in it. We could search for words, phrases, numbers, but for the highlighted file, on the right side, there it has found the first occurrence of that in the file, and that was found on page 7 of 11. And I can navigate through the file, and it is finding that word and jumping to its occurrences until it gets to the end. So very, very robust search engine. And maybe, gee, we did a little piece of work. I don't know if I put it in the trust fund. I don't know if I put it in the holding company. I don't know if I put it into the individuals. Well, now I want to just search for that within the affiliated group. There could be 20 companies and 3 trust funds and 10 individuals. I'm just going to check. Let's just go now and let's search within that group. And I just limited down, not across the whole database, just search within that affiliated group. And I'm getting everything here that there is. So we've touched on document management. We've touched on some efficiency tools that we gain in the software. Just touched very briefly on workflow, very briefly on portal. There's the whole client side of the portal and the ability to create prepared by client lists where that you request lists of documents and they give them to you. But totally interactive. What you do, the portal, then you put a document, it emails the client puts a document, it emails the accounting firm. Documents, as soon as they're put on the portal, they're available here back into the Binder Explorer. Those documents are automatically available, whether it's documents that are in a list, whether it's documents that the client is sharing, whether it's documents that we've posted. We can see the client side of the portal. They have a much nicer looking interface, very simple, allowing them to either upload or download documents depending on how we've set up the folder that the template drives for the portal. But very simple interface, very usable by the clients. Integrating right in workflow, even workflow for caseware project. Here's a caseware project. Here's the workflow. Here's where it's due. Here's who it's assigned to. And I can see, I get oversight that I can see, my partners say, here's all my projects, and I can see where things are at. Whoops, look, there's a problem on this one. We're waiting on the client. Well, I know what the issue is. And then, so it's very good that when a client calls, I'm now looking at the affiliated list, or the list of all the affiliated entities. A company, a person, a company. Here's all of the elements. So I could look up by affiliate entity. And now here is the affiliate entity. So when they call me, I don't look up Charles Booth because he calls. I'm now seeing his son and his daughter and his company all on one screen. Their portals, their archives, their workflow. I can send them documents through the portal because of we have encrypted link email, so I have secure email. I have all of this on one screen, so I can service my client. I can be solving problems because I can see there's a problem on this file. They can say, gee, we want to change a due date on something. We want to this, that. I can do all those things because the software is going to give me the capability because that's what accountants need and because that's what accountants are going to do. And I think we're running towards the end of our time. It's a good time to stop, or else Marilyn's going to hit me over the head and say, Don, we have to do our last poll, and Alan has to roll up. So thank you very much for taking a look at Doc.It. If you want to contact us, our website is Doc.It.com. That's DOC-IT.com. You can email info@Doc.It.com, and one of us can be talking to you about our software. So Marilyn, I think you've got the last poll there. If we could just pull it up, please, would be appreciated, and then we can turn things back to Alan.
Thanks, Don. Always great to see how practitioners can use technology to improve their efficiency. Things sure have changed since when I was designated quite a long time ago. So this is the 4th polling question today, folks. If you've answered 3 of the 4, as Alan indicated, you will receive 1 verified PD credit. Fairly straightforward. We just like to know what your technology goals are, and you get to choose more than one with this question. Everyone's eager to get back to their day. I can already see 85% have answered, so we're going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and I'm closing the poll. And just quickly sharing. Number 1 response, 88%, improving efficiency. Isn't that what we all wish for? Thanks very much, Don, for your time today, and everyone else. I'm going to be closing that poll and changing over to Alan to wrap us up.
I'm back. So first of all, I want to say thank you to you for tuning in today, and to Ward, Don, and Marilyn. I learned something from both of you. Ward, I can't wait to try dynamic arrays when I get them on my system. So before I close, Ward mentioned this, but you have two other options to continue your education in AI. The first is here, and this will be included as part of your package. The second one is here, also including your package. And on that note, I look forward to seeing you all again in 2 or 3 weeks when I will continue my Excel series. That's a wrap.